Hey, what's up, everybody? It's TR with Earth Angel Mushrooms. We're gonna do another video on the business side of things. So anyway, I wanted to show everybody the first place, or I guess not the first place, but where I started growing mushrooms to sell. So here I'm in the basement in a 6 by 12 room. This isn't the first place that I started growing mushrooms, but it is the first place that I started selling them consistency. This is where I started honing the skills. So you can see it's a 6 by 12 room. And I had a pond fogger at that end of the room. And I had cut a hole in the door. And that hole was my exhaust. And then up there, I had my fresh air intake. So I had grown mushrooms before this, but this is where I really started putting everything together. Was in this room right here. So just a little bit of a change from 6 by 12. What is that? 70 square feet to 7,000. I didn't colonize in here. I colonized out in the basement. So kind of crazy looking back at where it all started and where I'm at now. So on my other video, oh, actually, there's the holes right there. You can see them. Hopefully, yeah, there you go. Those were the intake, fresh air intake, and then exhaust. So anyway, back to what I was saying, gearing it towards business. Eric made a video a couple of weeks ago on small scale. I have a drastic difference of opinion. If you plan to do this for a living, small scale, you will fail. Absolutely, 100%. I don't believe that you can make it on a small scale. You have to continually get bigger and bigger, and volume is what will save your company over high price. So I know a lot of mushroom growers in this country. The community is super small. So once you become part of the industry, you start getting to know everybody. And pretty much every city, for the most part, taps out between 500 and 1,000 pounds of mushrooms, specialty mushrooms, that is. And so if you're only doing 500 pounds of mushrooms a week, and that's your only source of income, and yeah, you're getting, what's the average to direct sales to chefs? $10 a pound for oysters or whatever it is. You're like, well, 500 times 10, that's 5,000. Yeah, $5,000 until they change their menus. And then you drop from 500 pounds down to 200 pounds. And you think that $2,000 is a lot of money, right? No, it's not a lot of money at all, especially when you're having to pay for electricity. We're paying to heat and cool the fresh air. So if you're in the Midwest, like I am, it gets up to 100 degrees in the summertime. So we're cooling that to the 60s. In the wintertime, we're paying for heat. You're paying for bags. You're paying for gas for delivery. I mean, I could sit down and write it all down and make a business plan, but what you think of as a lot of money is not a lot of money when it comes down to it. So I'm a firm believer that if you're going to do this for a living, not as a side job, that you better get big, and you better get big as fast as you possibly can, because volume will save you. When you're dealing in big volumes, little fluctuations are not going to hurt you like if you're dealing with small volumes. And there is a difference of opinion, but on the other side, saying that you're getting a high amount. But then it goes back to you're getting a high amount for something that can fluctuate very easily, and it does. And you see that if you're selling direct to restaurants, which I work through a broker, so I'm affected by this as well, that the second the regular produce hits come April, May, mushroom sales go down a little bit. So fall is our biggest time selling to restaurants. So literally when the first frost hits and kills everybody's tomatoes and all the outdoor stuff, it's instantaneous that we get mushroom sales just skyrocket, which is good. And then that lasts till about January, and then it takes a nosedive again, January, and then February it starts to pick back up. March, still doing all right. April, and then May, when everybody gets all of their produce, mushroom sales will drop again. And then the chefs will change their menu based on what's available. So that hurts us as a mushroom grower. And this is pretty standard across the board. Whenever you get to the wholesale size or you're selling to wholesalers, grocery stores, those numbers change, but they don't change like direct sales to restaurants. So I am a firm believer that volume will save you as far as doing this for a living, and that long-term direct sales to restaurants is not a sustainable business plan, because it fluctuates so much. So you're going to have to get to a point where you decide that you're going to enter the wholesale market. And then you're getting real prices, not exaggerated farmers market prices. Everybody gets in this, and I was the same way. You go to the farmers market, that's the highest price you're ever going to get. If you base your company on farmers market, I guarantee you, you will fail. No doubt about it, 100% chance. Farmers market prices are prices that people are willing to pay when they're buying from you, when they're buying from the owner, when they're buying local. And those numbers, the volume that you're going to sell at a farmer's market, I don't know any grower, not one grower, that sells 100 pounds at a farmer's market. And very, 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 very few growers that sell 50 pounds at a farmer's market. So the volumes when you're selling at a farmer's market are minuscule, and they are not, you cannot make a living selling mushrooms at a farmer's market. So where I differ in Eric's video is, if you're going to do this for a living, you have to base your company around volume. And when you're basing your company around volume, you have to go by USDA pricing. So USDA.gov puts out pricing of what all the terminal markets. So I think there's 14 terminal markets. St. Louis is a terminal market. New York, Dallas, Atlanta. I think there's 14 of them. Anyway, you can go to USDA.gov and look up pricing for shiitake, pricing for oyster mushrooms, and see the price basically of what those are going for. If you can build your company around those numbers, then you can be successful. You just have to decide that that's what you're going to do, is you're going to base your company around realistic numbers. Farmers market is not realistic long term. Direct sales to chefs is not realistic long term. The only thing that is realistic to do this for a living are USDA prices, because when you get into the big leagues, that is what you're going to be paid for mushrooms, and sometimes less, and that fluctuates throughout the year. They change the pricing on the terminal markets at USDA based on what everybody's paying, and I'm not for sure how often that's updated, but I haven't been to it in a while. So typical prices on the wholesale market for oysters are mid threes. So 350, 325, 375 a pound. USDA pricing for shiitake is in the mid fours. So 425, 450. And then I have a good buddy who grows out in LA. He grows all oysters and he grows about 2,500 pounds a week. And after wintertime, remember I said that the prices drop, or the demand drops after Christmas, so into January, and he was getting $1.75 for oysters. So you really have to go back to that businessman or businesswoman mentality and have your business planned around realistic pricing when you get big enough to sell wholesale. So I'm a firm believer that if you're not moving forward, you are moving backwards. So you need to be getting bigger all the time, because volume will save your company, save your life. So anyway, figured I'd share some of that and show off where I started growing. So it's not very pretty, that's for sure. 6x12 room. I was growing about 20 pounds a week in here on straw, which I hate straw with a royal passion. Straw is only something you grow on when you start off because it's so easy. Other than that, switch to something that is more productive, takes up less room, better yields. So anyway, I guess that's enough for tonight. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.